Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in. I'm glad you all could be with us alongside Jan. Jan from New York City Saves Money is with me this afternoon, and we're going to focus on things that we can use, items itself, a container, a box, or um, you know, like a can, anything that we can use to repurpose, which means when we run out of the contents, we can clean out the container and reuse it again for something else. Not just in that aspect, but I guess we could also talk about things that are also in our refrigerator as well. So, Janet, if you have anything, any
Yes.
tips that you
Yes,
want.
I do. I took out my bag of tricks again, Steve. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Thanks so much for being here. I hope you brought yourself a little cup of tea or a cup of joe. Kick back. It's Saturday. It is so important that you take a little minute for yourself. This is one of the reasons why Steve and I like to get together so we could all take a minute and just crash down from the rest of the week. Hope everybody's doing well. You're looking at right now an envelope. Now, how many times we get envelopes in the mail? All the time. I believe in general in life, we as a culture underutilize lots of things. Now, I wanted to write down some show notes, but my trusty notebook, like because I write out so many notes, so many things, I utilize it to death, like literally. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get into my next trusty notebook yet. And it was perfectly in alignment with today's show because today's show is about repurposing. We underutilize the stuff that we, number one, already paid for. It's taking up space. Hey, let's try to save the planet one person at a time and either recycle, repurpose, or utilize better whatever we have in our homes or apartments. So, having said that, as you see me with my reutilized envelope, which I wasn't going to waste. Anyway, so that was one thing. And like I even said here, repurpose the backs of used envelopes or notebooks or anything that you could get your hands on. When you get an envelope in the mail that you don't use as a business reply, you know how it says business reply envelope, but you personally don't need to do that? Hang on to that because let's say you made your payment with a credit card or a debit card, but you're still receiving because you don't send out a check, for example. Keep those envelopes. I have a stash of all of those envelopes every single time my utility bills come in. I do hold on to it. Sometimes I might want to put something else in that envelope, like hand somebody, let's say, a gratuity. Just put the tip inside that envelope and hand the person the envelope, for example, or just use it for scrap paper. That's one thing. Now, getting back to the notebook in general life. Okay, you have your notebook. This is one of my trusty notebooks, of which I just finished. However, I'm going to show you what I did here. I always use the cardboard backing for other purposes. You know what this is? This is actually a chart of all the shows that I made in advance, for example. And I made a little chart for it week of, and then I know it's completed. Because when you do a bunch of shows, you want to make sure that, I know there's a way that we do it with the app that we have, but I'm still old fashioned, and I'd like to do a lot of things using good old pen and paper. Now look what I did here with the notebook. I went to the front cover. Did I not use it? No, I used it. Actually, I have a cheesecake recipe here. Actually, from my cheesecake recipe here. So this is like a temporary thing. If I want to transfer it over to somewhere else, I will definitely do that. And that's a reference only to the notebook aspect. Next. Now, some people might have heard me say this before about, I don't know, a year ago on my channel, but I have so many new viewers, and so does Steve, that I think this is worth repeating because it's a cute little trick. All you need is an empty, you could prefer to use a can of boneless chicken or a can of tuna. Sometimes tuna fish cans, it's hard to get that smell out no matter what you do. but the boneless chicken doesn't really have that smell, but it doesn't matter. It's a can of that type of can. What you would do, this is to make your rice or your mashed potatoes plate up in a prettier manner. Well, what do those cans have to do with it? All you need to do is take a manual can opener, if you have a can opener, cut off the top completely, cut off the bottom completely, and what you end up with is a ring. So you're going to use that ring. Then you just like put it down on a plate, plate up some rice in it, stuff the rice in it, pat it down, then carefully remove it, and it looks like a perfectly shaped round ring. You could do the same thing with mashed potatoes if you have company on. It just looks so pretty, and you didn't pay a dime for it because you already paid for that. Why not utilize it to do that? And it's not my idea. I saw this on like one of those food type of networks a long time ago, and I never forgot that trick. It's so cute, especially when you have company. Next, socks. Okay, I mean, I could literally like spend an hour talking about many repurposing ideas of socks, but for now, we're going to talk about just a couple of things. Socks can do many, many things, especially old pairs of socks. And on previous videos, we talked about how you can use them like for dusting. You could stretch a sock over, let's say, like a Swiffer type of mop in between. If, when you run out of the pads, you could go over and do a dry mopping with that. Just take the sock off and just throw it in the washer. But that's not the only thing you could do with it. Did you ever think of socking money away? That was an old expression. People used to say, well, I'll just sock away some money. You know why that expression happened? Because back in the really old days, some people literally used to hide some of their money in their pairs of socks and throw them in the back of a drawer. I would suggest, if you're going to do that, two things I would suggest. One, that you store that money into a pair of socks that you know you're never going to wear and maybe has an unusual color or an unusual pattern, not ones with holes in it, of course. And don't go past $20, just in case somebody happened to go in your drawer and happen to borrow a pair of socks, and gee, aren't they really lucky they found 10 or 20 bucks in it. Just saying. So this is a thought, an unusual thought, but it is a thought. I like to do that sometimes, once in a great while, not necessarily in a pair of socks, because I don't like to wear socks, to be honest with you. I'll wear different kinds of things, but I don't necessarily like to wear socks. But there are other methods where you could do the same thing. You guys are very creative. You could maybe figure out some places like that, hiding places. But socks do make a great hiding place for cash. But don't go past $20, because if it gets lost, then you're not going to have a fit. Next. Now, this is interesting, but this is where you need to utilize your own creativity, because I don't have the full answer. But someone made some money. Somebody invented this by selling this. But I think this is something that can easily be replicated at home. You know the national brand of soup, the red and white can that the whole world knows about? Okay. You could get, if you happen to use that kind of soup or another product that's similar, don't cut the product can from the top. Cut the product can from the bottom. You leave the label on. You use the interior. You utilize the product right away, of course. Then you clean out and totally, carefully, extremely dry the interior of that can. Now remember, the top was not cut off. Why are we doing all this? Well, it's going to be a sneaky way, again, to hide something, like if you have like house money, that, emergency house money for gas, whatever it is that you want to put there, like the $20 limit, that little secret stash of cash type thing, for example. And then like you could put it in there. But if you could find like a lid, like let's say the type that pulls off, the plastic ones, you could use that if it fits on the bottom, and then just put that can with the rest of your soups. No one's going to think about that. So I just thought that was a pretty good idea. So these are a couple of thoughts, but I still have another thought. Anyone who uses paper towel will end up with these. The roller, that comes inside of it. If you have plastic bags, if your state still allows you to use those plastic bags in the grocery store or they give them to you, this is a wonderful place to put them in. Just enter them in here, put them in, and then keep the little bit of the handle out, and boom, voila, you got a storage. Because if you have, let's say, 80 of those bags, you just don't want them laying around all over the place. You could at least keep these tubes neatly and carefully in a what they call junk drawer or area like that. So these are very handy. That's what I have in my bag of tricks this time, Steve.
Okay, yeah, those are real helpful. I mean, I've got a few of myself, uh, tips to throw in. Um, if you go to the grocery store and your groceries come in a plastic bag, don't throw away the bags. Keep the bag, especially in a bathroom trash can that are small. They work great in there. And then if you when they fill up, you can grab it on both sides, pull up. You got built-in handles. You just tie it, and you're done. Another one that's good is like a Folgers coffee container, Maxwell House, a plastic container that's got the lid that pops off. When you use that up, you could use it for flour, sugar, cornstarch, anything that you can think of, you could store in that container. My dad, and I think you said you might do it too, is he would buy like a 10 or 20 pound bag of rice. It lasted a long time, I remember. He would take the rice, clean out the container to get the coffee grounds and the little bit of that smell out, and he would refill it after he dried it out. He would refill it with rice, and that would make a good storage for rice. So that one, I've also taken like a planter's nut container. I've taken those, and what works good in a planter's nut container. You happen to mention it about socking money away. I've used it to put change in.
There you go.
Um, what I would do is I would just keep adding change, add, add, add. And when it filled up to the top, I would go to my credit union. There's a machine that I can just dump everything in, and it calculates your change, and then it gives me a receipt. I go to my teller, and I get it back in $1, $5 bill, whatever amount of money is
Excuse me
given.
1 second. I'm so sorry. Can I call you back? I'm in the middle of a taping. Okay, bye bye.
So there you go.
Yeah, well, anyway, but continue with what you were saying.
No, that's it. Just
Oh, well, wait. No, something I have to show you. I was looking at it. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, what are you looking at? I bought this container. This was a can of Duncan Hines or Betty Crocker frosting. You know, it's like frosting cans. Don't throw them out. These make the perfect. I bought this can about a decade ago. I keep in here my scissors, my tape measure, obviously, a screwdriver, anything that I just put it there. It's the perfect height. You can put pens and pencils in it. It is absolutely amazing. So don't bypass those at all.
mm-mm, no. And then, of course, the only other thing I can add coming over to food is, if you have any leftover vegetables, meats, or things like that, you can always take those and put it in a crock pot or a regular pot. And you could always create some type of a stew or a soup. If you have mashed potatoes and some vegetables, and maybe some ground beef, or you could cook some up. You could always create a shepherd's pie type of thing. Another one that works good is if you have any poultry left over, turkey, chicken. You could take that, make it into a chicken salad, turkey salad, chicken stew, turkey stew. Um, you could soups, whatever you want to do with it. Another thing that turkey, chopped up or pieces of turkey, chicken works good, and I mentioned it in the past, is you can also use it in stir fries and things like that. It actually turns out rather good. So that's really my contribution of.
I love your contribution. You showed me something earlier today, and it's so true because those bags are indestructible. Uh, what the heck was that? So some sort of a cracker or something?
Oh, all right. So I went to the dollar store yesterday and I bought a box of little Dutch made Cheez Its. And they're, no, it's not the same as the Cheez Its we all know, but for $1.25, I'm not griping. But if you look at the bag that they come in, this quality of bag, which can also be found in cereal boxes, but bigger, from what I understand, I've never done it. But from what I hear, you could take um, you could put crumbs in it or pieces of whatever you're trying to break up and use a rolling pin or use it to mash, and it helps break down, like if you're going to do a pie, like graham crackers
I
or
love that idea.
um, another one you could probably use for a pie crust. I just thought of it the other day. I don't see why it wouldn't work. Another, I've done the Pop Tart method, which I don't shy away from and tell people not to do. Try it because it works rather well. Another one that I thought of, I have not tried, but I bet it works very good. Why couldn't you take vanilla wafers and crush that and make a pie crust out of it?
Yum.
Or any type of cookie for that matter.
Yum. As long as you have cookies in your house, there is always another purpose for those cookies. You can make an ice cream pie. You can make a pudding pie. There is, you know what, Steve? You got me thinking. There is no reason on planet Earth to have to, especially now that we're really watching our grocery bill. Why would I, if I have a box of cookies in my home, why would I go out and spend extra money on a cookie crust? With
Because
this method that you use and that I like to use, it's not necessary. It's not necessary.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
Oreo crust is delicious
That's another one. Yeah, the Oreo cookie. Hmm.
and actually comes out a lot cheaper. I love, like you do, I like things that I get multi purpose out of, even meals, for example, like you were pointing out, those using like those extra those ingredients, what you have left over to recycle into do over meals. I'm not a fan of, I know it's convenient, I know when we get tired, but I'm not a true fan of the hit and run meal. What do I mean by hit and run meal? I mean that one meal, you're only getting the one meal, one time only thing out of,
Hmm.
which so many convenience store, not stores, situations like to do. That's expensive.
No, it is. Well, because when you mentioned hit and run meal, I said, "What is she talking about?" But now that you went into a little bit in
Yeah,
depth.
that's just my
Right.
terminology for
So,
it.
but
It's
when
just
you explained what it was, I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah." With that being said, based on what you just mentioned, I'm not really that much of a fan of them either. So,
no. Even like look what you do with, for example, on another level, like, okay, this is not repurposing this specific thing I'm going to bring up. This is more getting more bang for your buck. For example, Steve, even I do this too. If we ever get those like sub heroes type things, I don't sit down. I couldn't even do it if I wanted to. I don't sit down at one sitting and eat the entire hero. Oh my gosh, they would have to call 911 because I'd be too full. I couldn't do it. You get a couple of meals out of it. It's you I know you've told me many times, oh, I had it for lunch, but I could hold the rest of it for tomorrow's lunch, for example.
um, lunch, or I can have it for dinner later on that day.
Yeah.
And people think, "Oh my gosh, but I spent $10 on this. It, but that's a lot of money. Okay, is it a lot of money? Think about how many portions out of that $10 serving that you paid are you going to feed yourself with? If you feed yourself 3 times, that's basically $3.33 a meal, give or take a penny.
That's right.
Well, so actually, you would be adding a penny because it's 333, 333, 334. Okay, so but no, you can't look at it that way. Every time you get a second, a third, a fourth. I know you can't get 4 meals if unless you're, unless you eat canary servings. But
Ah,
the more meals you can get out of one thing, that meal is breaking down less and less and less.
that's right. That's right.
So a sub usually runs me about $8. I usually go over here. Publix is not far from me. I usually do. If it's on sale, I'll get a boar's head. If it's not, I'll just get the standard Publix sub. It's $8, 4 and 4, basically $4, $4.
That's
Which,
good.
yeah, which for me today, that's not that bad for somebody to pay out for something to eat. If you can get, in that case, you get two meals. But if you go to some place like a Chinese restaurant and get mugu gai pan or pepper steak or chop suey or lo mein, or if you like fried rice, they usually fill it up. Now, my best bang for my buck is the fried rice. They fill it up, and I've been known to get $3, not three servings out of it. So
See, there you go.
on average, I usually like beef fried rice, chicken, you know, sometimes shrimp, and sometimes I'll just do the house version, which is a little bit of everything. And that usually runs about $8.59, but I'm getting a whole container
Oh no, no,
full.
no. You're getting value. You're getting value on that. And to the person that doesn't have a place close by and has to rely on a delivery, whatever, in that case, you could try to replicate it yourself at home. But if you're there and you have it and you're getting multi uses out of it, you are lowering the cost of your output for each time you do it over, which is
Mhm,
great. That's
mhm.
that's really good. You know what, Steve? This is not about repurposing, but I want to make one point about stretching things. Don't always go according to the manufacturer's suggestion on certain labels. For example, laundry detergent. Laundry detergent, if you follow, well, in some cases, if you follow it, it's actually a lot less than what most people put in. But you can even go a little less than that because usually the chemical is that strong. And when it comes to cleaning products, let the product sit. Spray your product. Don't be in a hurry to wipe it off too
Yep,
fast.
yep.
Right? People don't utilize the product long enough and let it sit long enough.
Well, I'll give you another example. It's not letting the product sit, but like the video that I did the other day where I mentioned Epsom salt. Um, it does say to use 2 cups of Epsom salt in bath water. I've been known to actually cut it back a little bit and do a cup and a half.
And it worked, right?
It's just as effective,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you're cutting back, about yay much, but still yay much can be used. Although I'm not really big about some of the uses that you can use the Epsom salt for. Um, I'll get
Yeah.
into this. It does mention you can use it to relieve constipation, and I had a subscriber comment saying you can. Apparently, they've done it, but I would feel timid or scared
Yeah.
about intaking
Yeah.
Epsom salt.
I kind of agree with
If
you on
you're
that.
if you're constipated, again, I'm not trying to bring this up in a bad way. Yes, we've all been there at some point, but you could eat a little bit of like you. I would rather eat prunes rather than the prune juice. That's one. Two, another one, apple juice is really good for constipation, because it is a source of fiber. But there is other ways to go about that
that
Surely.
that thing.
And the Epsom salt. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Steve, could I just throw something in? This has to do with shampoo. I would love to meet the person, and this had to be a long time ago, that came up with this marketing ploy. Rinse, shampoo again twice. You want to double the value of your shampoo? Ignore that method. There is no method to rinse, repeat. You rinse, lather, repeat, rinse, lather, repeat. You do a good job with it the first time around in the shower. You don't have to go again, rinse,
No,
lather, repeat.
I've seen that. I've seen that. No, I just when I go to wash my hair, I get it wet first, and then I
Excuse
use
me.
I use one of two shampoos. I use like Head and Shoulders. I've got that, and I've also got Pantene Pro V, and the one that I use is the 2-in-1. The shampoo and the conditioner is one, rather than having to buy two separates. And I've been using that since like 1994.
Excellent tip, Steve.
Right.
Excellent.
So I'm not about to give up a shampoo I've been using for the last 28 years that I know that works. So what I do is I wet my hair, and I usually buy a decent, and I'll go and put my hand under and I'll go about 3 times, pump one, two, three, and I get enough, and then I just lather it in, and then I just rinse it out, and I'm done. That's
Yeah.
it.
This thing about doing it twice, I don't understand.
I
Now,
don't, I
listen,
don't,
unless you got bubble gum in your hair or paint.
what, yeah, but what advantage is it going to give you by washing your hair twice?
No, it just uses up the product that much faster.
Yeah.
Uh, uh-uh. Also, dish detergent, by the way. You promised your kid a bubble bath. You ran out of the bubble bath. In an emergency, if they're not allergic to your dish detergent, you could put a little bit, like a little bit, and make the bubbles in the bubble bath. It works. It works.
So in this case, I guess instead of Calgon take me away, it would be, I guess in this case, instead of Calgon take me away, it would be Dawn take me away. No, no,
Something
no
like
pun intended, by
that.
the way.
I know.
But you know,
Hey, excuse me, Steve. Am I correct that in about a week you're going to be actually doing a collab with Dawn? Dawn from Money Mom, Sensible Living. That's awesome. That's great.
yeah, I am.
Great. Yeah. Well, head on over to that collab, guys. He'll let you know when it's closer to the time. That'll be really interesting. That'll be
Mhm.
good. But yeah, I mean, hey guys, add your own tips and tricks to the bottom here in the comment section below. Steve would love to look at them.
Yeah, yeah. Let me know, and because I love hearing other people's feedback. Maybe something I might have forgot, or don't know, or didn't know, or you know. So feel
Absolutely.
free to, as always, I always, encourage. All right. Thank you for coming along. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me again on a
Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah. And, be on the lookout. Um, you know, I have my show on Tuesday at 6 a.m. So, you know, be on the lookout for that. Everybody have a great day, and I'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye.